Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is your match preview. Manchester United versus Lyon in the Europa League quarter-final second leg. This is it. This is it. Our whole season depends on this game. We've got to get through. We've got to get into the semi-final. The league is over. We're out of all of the cup competitions. We've got a couple of things to talk about, guys. We're obviously going to talk about the number one position, the goalkeeper. Is it going to be ONANA? Is it going to be Binder? Is it going to be Tom Heaton? We're also going to talk about Joshua ZIRKZEE's injury and what that means for the number 9 position. Are we going to go back to Rasmus Højlund, or does Ruben Amorim have a surprise up his sleeve? We'll do our predicted 11 as always, guys, and our score predictions. Get your thoughts into the comment section below. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's jump right into it. Thanks for joining. As always, guys, we're going to start, of course, with Andre Onana and that number 1 position in the back line. And look, it's been a really difficult week for Andre Onana. Obviously, there's been some issues with him off the field as well, some personal issues to do with his family and so on and so forth. And you never like to see that, of course you don't. And Ruben Amorim has taken him out of the firing line after last week in Lyon and left him out of the complete matchday squad. And I think it was probably the best, to be honest with you. And now, look, we know that Binder obviously went into the goal on the weekend and did make a mistake. I thought first half he was quite good. Second half, obviously, you have an error leading directly to a goal, and it's not good, you know. And I mentioned at the end of the Lyon game last week, where people were calling for Andre Onana to be dropped and Binder to be brought in, that I said Binder is not the solution to Andre Onana not being good enough, because I don't think either are good enough. And I do think we need to go and get a goalkeeper in the summer. How high on the priority list will that be? I'm not 100% sure. But Onana coming back in on Thursday night is a strong possibility, guys. And there's been a number of different outlets suggesting that he may come in. There's a few then suggesting that he won't. Nobody knows really until, you know, Ruben Amorim makes the decision. Personally, what do I think myself? I think he'll probably come back in. I think he's the type of character that wants to prove himself continuously. And I think doing that at home to Lyon, I don't think there's a better maybe platform for him to do it. He obviously ran his mouth a little bit too much last week in the build up to the first leg, and it backfired on him. You know, Nemanja Matic had a bite back, and you know, yeah, I mean, he didn't cover himself in glory really. He was at fault for both goals, you know. Now there were other players maybe for the second goal that were at fault also. But I think as the goalkeeper, being the last line of the defence, it's always going to land at your feet. So, I mean, building up to the game on the weekend, I don't think Andre Onana is probably going to be dropped. I think it's probably going to be him that starts the game on the weekend. But, I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. This is an absolutely huge call out of Ruben Amorim. And I think it's one that potentially could determine whether we go through or not. But again, I go back to what I said about Onana. He wants to prove himself. He knows he messed up last week, and he knows he's been left out of the squad for that reason against Newcastle, and he's going to want to get back in and prove himself, and there's no better way of doing that, I don't think. I do think Onana is probably better in the goal than the likes of Binder. I genuinely do. I think he offers us more in terms of putting his foot in the ball. Binder, I suppose, has his attributes as well. I thought he dominated his area quite well. He came for crosses, which is something Onana kind of struggles with a little bit. So look, there are pros and cons to everything. I do think it's going to be Andre Onana to start on Thursday night. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Would you go with Onana? Would you go with Binder? And we haven't given Tom Heaton a shout out yet here. You know, Tom Heaton is the best goalkeeper in the world. Absolutely he is. But you know, he's 37, 38. You know, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. Who would you start in the goal? Now, guys, next up, let's talk about the number 9. And Joshua ZIRKZEE obviously had a disappointing game against Newcastle the other day, and nothing to do with his performances. I thought he was actually playing quite well, but obviously came off with a really bad hamstring injury. And you know, I mentioned it at the time that, you know, you can sometimes see guys getting hamstring injuries and, you know, they're able to walk off and it mightn't seem too bad. But when you see Joshua ZIRKZEE coming off and needing help to get off the pitch, you know it's not a good one. And Ruben Amorim was asked in his press conference after the game about the potential availability of ZIRKZEE on Thursday night, and he basically said, I think it's over. Now, does that mean his season is over? that remains to be seen. But again, look, it's not good. So what is Ruben Amorim going to do? And I think that's the big question mark here. Is he, potentially going to go with Erasmus Højlund, who is absolutely bang out of form this season and has never really got into consistent form in the 2 years now nearly that he's been at Manchester United. And we know his struggles are there and he's lacking confidence. He's probably not doing the right things. He's, more interested in trying to battle off a defender than getting his first touch right and linking up. And I do know he gives us them runs in behind, but he doesn't do it enough. He just doesn't offer us enough. And I think time is running out for Rasmus Højlund at Manchester United. I do wonder whether potentially we could look at a scenario where you talk about Bruno Fernandes playing in the number 9 position, a false 9 role potentially, and we've seen him play there under Ruben Amorim before in that role. And I think getting the likes of Kobbie Mainoo back and Mason Mount back and available to play, I think does probably open up that option. We've got a number of midfielders back now that can play in the number 10 role or the number 6 role, depending on where you were talking about or looking at playing Bruno Fernandes. And again, look, we will get onto our predicted 11 in a moment, but I do absolutely think that Bruno Fernandes could play that false 9 role if that's something that Ruben Amorim is looking to do. And there's options there. Do you want to get players in behind with Garnacho? He loves to get in behind. Maybe the likes of Mason Mount and Kobbie Mainoo are more so, ball playing number 10s where they like to get on it, they like to face the goal rather than, running off a false 9 and trying to get in behind. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic, but we're on our toes thinking about what way Ruben Amorim is going to set up, and that also means that the opposition are as well. So I think that is a benefit playing into Manchester United's hands. The likelihood of Højlund starting up front, whatever little bit of confidence that Rasmus Højlund has left, being dropped when Joshua ZIRKZEE, your only real competitor, is injured, it can't be good for you. It really can't. But again, you've got to do what's right for the team, and Ruben Amorim has to pick a side that he thinks can go out and win. Is Rasmus Højlund going to score his goals? Probably not, going on the season he's having so far. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays, but yeah, I would probably prefer to go with Bruno Fernandes. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys. What way do you think Ruben Amorim is going to go with that number 9 position? Now, guys, let's talk about Lyon a little bit. And look, obviously we played him last week, so we know an awful lot about him. And look, their main player obviously is ZIRKZEE, isn't it? And United have been linked with him, and he could potentially be a United player next year. You never know. However, when we look back on last week's game, I don't think they gave us too much problems, if I'm being quite honest. They started very well and they were in the game and they were attacking a lot, but United kept their shape, kept their composure. And I'll go back to what we've said about it. The 2 goals that Lyon scored were down to individual errors by our goalkeeper. It's as simple as that. But again, this guy does have to be taken care of. He really does. And he's going to want to put on a show at Old Trafford, especially when he's been linked with Manchester United. And we know some of the danger men that they have. Obviously, Lacazette came on the other night. He got a couple of half chances as well, Lacazette, in fairness to him. And we know how dangerous he can be, when he gets in and around the box. It would be interesting to see does Nemanja Matic get any game time, given the back and forth that we've seen between him and ONANA in the past maybe week or so. But nonetheless, Lyon do have, danger men in their team. But I reiterate the fact that I think Manchester United looked quite comfortable last week for the large parts of that game. And I think if we can do that again at Old Trafford with the crowd behind us, I think we can stem the flow of an awful lot of the danger that Lyon possess. But yeah, it's all about doing that. We've got to limit their chances and what they create. And then when we do create, we've got to take our chances. And I think that's the big thing on Thursday night. Now, guys, let's get into our predicted 11, and some changes are going to be made to the team that started against Newcastle last week. But what we'll do is we will give you the team that started against Lyon last week, because it's probably the best comparison that we have, given the fact that Ruben Amorim made a lot of changes against Newcastle on the weekend because of this big game. But Andre Onana started in goal, as we know, guys, and I'm keeping him there. I think he will start I would be surprised if Ruben Amorim drops him for this game, then I don't see ONANA coming back in, you know, for any more big games between now and the end of the season. I'm talking about maybe potential semi-finals or finals in the Europa League. So I do think ONANA will stay. We had a back three of Mazraoui, Maguire and Yoro, and to be honest with you, I don't see too much change in that. I think Yoro was actually playing on the left with Mazraoui on the right, and the only real change that I could see to this back three is if De Ligt is back from injury. Now, we've had no indication that he will be back, and we haven't really got a time frame on when he will return as well. Let's hope it's not too serious. But again, I don't see too many changes. I don't see any changes to this back three. And likewise then with the wing backs, I mean, they're the most shored up positions at the moment. Are you going to see maybe a Luke Shaw come in? I don't think so. I think Luke Shaw, if anywhere, is going to come in and play in this left centre back role, because I don't think, you know, his body will allow him to be doing this, you know, up and down week in week out like Dargu does. So I think Dargu is set in that left wing back position, and I think Delo will be there. The two number sixes, guys, again, I don't see too much change here, to be quite honest with you. I think it's going to be Casemiro and Ugarte again. We've seen Casemiro get a rest on the weekend against Newcastle, so I do fully expect him to come back into the starting 11 on Thursday night, and I hope he does so, because I think him and Ugarte are playing quite well together. Now, it's the forward three that you could potentially see some change in. Now, this was the forward three against Lyon last week, Bruno, Garnacho and Højlund, and absolutely that could be the same lineup again on Thursday night. However, I could potentially see Højlund come out, and like we mentioned, Bruno Fernandes going into a false 9 position like that, you know, will Garnacho stay on and keep his starting place? I think potentially, and I think the main reason for that is down to the fact that he was substituted after 55 minutes against Newcastle on the weekend. And if I'm looking into that, that's down to Ruben Amorim trying to keep him fresh. Now, there's two options then to go alongside it, and that's either Mason Mount to come in or Kobbie Mainoo to come in. Now, I think both would do quite a good job in there, I really do. If we're talking about players that could potentially go past, if Bruno Fernandes drops in here to get on the ball, Garnacho absolutely is going to run in behind. Now, who's more likely to run in behind, Mainoo or Mount? It's probably Mount, to be honest with you. But I think what we will likely see, if this is the case, and this is what I would like to see, is that Bruno starts in the false 9. I would like to see Mainoo come back in for his close control in then number 10 positions. And I think Garnacho will give you the option in behind then as well. So that's the front three that I would like to see. Mainoo, Garnacho and Bruno in a false 9. And it does give you the option then to bring on Højlund. You know, if you do go a goal or two up where, you know, you could potentially take off Mainoo, who's only back from injury. You could drop Bruno back in there. You can bring Højlund on. And then what you do then is you put balls into the corner for Højlund to run onto and take the pressure off of your defence if you're a goal or two up. But yeah, guys, that would be my predicted 11. That's what I would like to see going into this Lyon game. Let me know your predicted 11. Do you agree or disagree with this? What changes would you make? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, guys, score predictions. Again, it's a hard one to call all season with Manchester United. You just don't know what team is going to show up. We're not flush with goals. We rarely keep clean sheets. So it's a difficult one to call. But I'm positive going into the game. I really am. I think, obviously, United have played well in Europe all season. We're the only team unbeaten in Europe this season. And, yeah, I mean, goals. You know, goals. We need to score goals, don't we? And, you know, obviously Garnacho scored against Newcastle on the weekend. You know, you're talking about Lenny Yoro scoring last week as well. And it's just the goals are not coming from the areas that you'd like to see them coming from. That's your strikers. That's your forward players, you know. And Joshua ZIRKZEE scored a header last week, which is great. But again, he hasn't been flush with goals this season. So we need to see our forward players chipping in with goals more. But I think home crowd, European night, under the lights at Old Trafford, I think the crowd will be right there ready to go. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win to Manchester United. Again, I can't see us keeping a clean sheet, but I do think we'll get over the line with a 2-1 victory, and I'm confident that we will do so. But let me know your score predictions, guys, in the comment section below. Do you think United will win? Do you think it'll be Lyon, who's going through? Let me know in the comment section below. And as you can see over on the screen over here, guys, it's been flashing up. We will be live for the game on the weekend, or sorry, on Thursday night as well. We'll be live from 7:30 on Thursday night to have a live watch along over on YouTube. So make sure you're getting involved. You know, hit that notification bell if you are subscribed. Do subscribe. Why aren't you subscribed? 51% of you are not subscribed, so we're trying to get that increase. So do hit that subscribe button if you're new. Hit a like on the video as well, guys. I hope you have a great day. I'll chat to you Thursday night. Come on, United. Oh, come on, United. Please, please, please.